Hi guys, Chris from Loadertools. So I'm actually doing trying to update the store a little bit and create some listings, and thought I'd point out to you now this is on my phone because it's easy to record the screen. Thought I'd point out to you the photo section and go over some of the things that's in here. These are pretty much just the posts. Of course, these black things here are my shell trimmers for shotgun shells. Allow the shell to be trimmed off a certain amount you can set. There are my reloading dies for bullet placement, not seating, but they just place the bullets, feed the bullets, and very useful in a progressive or turret press. My Summit Press catcher. I got the red, white, and blue Summit Press when I bought it. Some videos of my bullet feed dies. My primer directors that plug the slot in the All-American 8 and Ruckchucker 4. I sell those every once in a while. I think people spread the word about that. Turret press, bullet feed die,
okay, so I have,
primer catcher.
So this is the turret press, Rcbs turret
that
press
I made for the turret press.
What I use
for the lineman funnels, I'm making those different sized inserts. They cover some of the rifle ones. I kind of make profile fitting ones that make them set on the cases real nicely. Have to be sized cases because they are fairly shaped, contour fitting the size case. This is something that I sell a lot of when I promote it, and then when I quit promoting it, people kind of forget that I make it. Make them also for this little guy. This is the version that does not have the
just made it one piece without
case link trimmer on it. Frankfurt Arsenal. These case holders that I made for this little saw, the little Harbor Freight saw, allow the case to be set very precisely the length of cut, and I do it. I set them, and pretty much all I have to do is just square the edges with my hand trimmer, but they are nearly square. If you were just making planking rounds and didn't really care, they'd work just fine. Coming right off of that, chamfer them, deburr them, turn them into 300 blackout cases, and load them. The old All-American 4-hole press, I make a catcher for that. Some more of my shell trimmers. This is a very early version of my Ruckchucker 4 primer catcher that I output to the left. You can see that I had created a hole through it for the zip tie, but today they fit extremely well, and you don't have to have a zip tie on there. Here's the primer catch tray that goes on the All-American 4 press. These are my little caliper inspection tools. They allow you to just set the case on there the same way every time to inspect it, and it's slightly off center so that you can rotate the case and check for squareness. Chip tray for the lineman hand trimmer. Partner press, primer catcher, The screw back here in the back allows the face of it to be pushed in and out to get it exactly where you want it. Here is a Spartee primer catcher. I make these for people occasionally. The All-American 8 primer catcher goes on over the priming tool, or there's an insert that can go on without the priming tool. I don't use the priming tool myself, so I use the insert. And this was a customer photo he sent me. I said, oh, there's something wrong. I sent you the wrong thing. This primer director plug, I have these for pretty much everything. It should fit in there, tucked in there a little bit better. I think he had it setting on top of the pin. Something's weird. But yeah, no, that actually is, I think this is the Hornady lock and load press, maybe. I can't really tell. But it's the wrong primer director. I sent him the right one. They fit in there nicely. The ram should raise and lower without it even touching the primer director. Here is some videos of bullet feed dies. For a while there, I was making these brass inserts. I still will make them. It's just that I gotta get the motivation up to run the lathe and thread them and knurl on them. Everything. What I do make mostly is the 3D printed versions. Here's some more videos of the using my bullet feed die. This was an early version of it. Actually had a spring on there in the back. You can't really see it, but I don't need any springs these days. More recent primer catchers for the Rock Chucker 4. Quality of the printing is coming out really nicely in these. Some silliness I did with making some little sabots on my 3D printer and making some 3D printed bullets so that I could test bullet feed dies. Made a jig for a firing pin. Needed to make a firing pin, so I got some drill steel, some hardenable steel, and made this jig so that I could cut that flat. And after I spun it on my lathe, you see the pictures of that. 3D printers are quite useful. Here's another Spartee. Actually, this is the Spartan, just a single hole press, and you can see the primer catcher I made here, and in the back there is the primer director. It really should be set down a little bit like that, leaving this little gap, because primers don't come out there, they come out lower down. And what that does, that little plug in the ram slot there, is makes a hole so that they can't come out above the catcher. Works very well. And here you can see it. The primers go down underneath that primer director. The interesting thing about the Spartee and the Spartan presses come with the turrets. I'm sorry, the Spartee comes with a turret. It's very similar to the Spartan. The color of the press for the Spartee was gray with a red turret, and then they came out with an orange version, slightly different, so I got two different catchers for that. I made this tray for a guy. I have that design. bugs me a little bit because it's not absolutely perfect. I think it's probably good enough, but I don't have this machine with this round. I have the other trim mate original. I think this is trim mate 2, but I can make those also. Lots of these things you won't find on my store because I just haven't gotten around to it. This is an old Lee Challenger press with the tray on the right hand side. I made a primer catcher that spans the O, sides of the O there. That works very good. The old I think it's the A2 press. Made a primer catcher for that, but that's actually a tricky one. You can see here. Yeah, these presses, there's about 5 different models of this press. So I can make one for it, but we have to figure out exactly what combination of pieces would need. Started play around with various coatings for my bullets. Did some large funnels for some presses. Real tricky dealing with tubing, because this is tubing for pool vacuums. Holds its shape, circular, and the inside is not. It's pretty flat on the inside, even though it's ribbed. It's pretty flat, so it doesn't hold the bullets up. Loaded bullets. Here is someone's photo of the chip tray and a chip guard around the trimmer head there. They're running it on some kind of a drill. That is the Forster trimmer. I had a little bit of period there where I was making copper plated stuff. It's kind of interesting. I made my own copper plating system and a 3D printed this barrel that you can see it printing there, that allowed the copper sulfate acid solution to be swished over the bullets, keeping in contact with the electrodes. Kind of interesting. This is the is it Wilson? No. Yeah, shoot. Can't remember now. It's a very nice trimmer. Made those little ramps for the chips to kind of fall down into the tray. I did what I could do. It's one of those things, do the best you can do. Some of the customers liked it. Then these guys changed the bed to be stainless steel, which my magnets wouldn't hold on to. Let's see, 3D printed face mask there. This is probably a Rock Chucker 2 primer catcher. Or it might be a RS or a Junior 2 or Junior 3, I think. It might be Junior 3. I like that guy's loading bench. Someone posted a picture of their loading bench. Very nice. Let's see. Here's the Rock Chucker 2 press with the ram has been rotated and it's been used with the inline fabrication case kicker. This is a expanded capacity for a C&H press. You see these, sometimes they have 3 holes, or they might have, here's one here, you can see it, how it hangs in there. This is a 3-hole press. So yeah, I worked with people with these presses. I had one of them, borrowed one of them for a while that was red, and they're pretty cool presses. Set up on top of your bench, and the handle stays above the bench. Here's another one. Any of these things, if you see them in here and you want them, you just message me. Here is one of the early, this I think XL 750, 650 spent primer tube. I'm printing these on my resin printer now, and they're actually stronger. Somebody made some shorty bullets using my shell trimmers, some 2-inchers. Get more of them in, I guess. This is probably when I borrowed this partner press from a guy who let me borrow his press to design this, because he wanted a catcher for it. Here is the T-Mag. I have a special primer director for it. Press is a great press, and I think the T-Mag 2 has a tube on the end of the ram for catching the primers, but some of them still jump out the front, and if you don't prime on the press, you can plug it nicely with my T-Mag 2. Here's another Dillon XL 1050 primer catch adapter. And I have made a ton of these nozzles. Come in a 3-nozzle set. Charge $6.99 for them. Some people have copied my idea of printing them and charging way more than that. I don't feel that that's fair, and never sought to make a killing on them, but they do take a while to print. They're finer than my normal printing. They do work. That's a Chargemaster 1500, by the way. Here's the trim mate tray. The old Lee value turret presses come in a couple different flavors. This is the older one. It has this pattern of ribs inside of it. The newer one doesn't have these crossed ribs, so there's different shape that I put on there. I made a video special for that. Here's one of my customers with the Lyman All-American 4. Here's someone demonstrating the chip tray I made for the Frankfurt Arsenal with case link trimmer. Here's another Lee classic cast press. Some primer directors I made for that. I make this tube adapter for this little gizmo, and I really like that little gizmo. I pretty much decap on all my brass on that. Early version of this All-American 8-hole press. Now, it turns out in 2021, Lyman moved the output hole slightly. I think the ram was slightly, I think the hole needed to be moved a little bit. In the original design, they did it, but they didn't fix their primer catch tray that came with the press. So they, customer of mine wrote them, and they wrote him back a letter saying, hey, yeah, we acknowledge that. We made that change, and now our catch tray doesn't work. Well, my current version of this catcher works on the old and the new presses. Now, on my press, the orange casting there had a little edge when the ram was raised all the way up, a little edge in there for primers to kind of collect on. So I took a little round needle file, and I just worked that little edge out back inside the casting. so that there wasn't a little lip on there. Important to note. Some people probably have trouble with that and never realized it, what was going on. I cannot remember what this press is. I don't know what this press is called. I made this for this guy. He measured the vertical bars there and the space for the ram, and I ended up making him this catcher without ever having the press in hand. It took quite a while. The Lyman Trim Pro primer catch. This was before I have a shroud that goes around the cutter that keeps the chips from flying. I made this guy a bag slider for his Ruger rifle. The Summit Press primer catcher. Primer catchers for mech presses. I have nozzles for the Hornady lock and load powder measure. Trim tray for this trio. This little Lee press, useful. A lot of people, a little cheap Lee press. I made this primer director for the back to keep primers going into it. Also, I make a tube adapter for underneath of it that you would actually put into it and make a hole for the hose to go through it. Customer photo of the Frankfurt Arsenal hand decapper with my tube adapter and hose and cork. I never made one for the AccuLine. I got it sitting there in a box. Someone did have a powered version of the trimmer, Lyman trimmer, and I made them a version to catch chips for it. It works very well. But it's a red, white, blue 4th of July giveaways. Been making primer catchers for a very long time. Must be about 8 years now. I have one for the for this press as well. Yep. For the here's one. This shows the more recent Lee turret press. These now, I think they quit making them, but this shows how the ribs aren't in there. That earlier picture had 3 ribs, and this just has the 1 rib. So, and I do make a version of this, so if you got it on the inline fabrication stand, that it's able to exit through the stand plate with no modification. Here's the insert for this old press. Someone loaned me the press. Made them the insert. Lock and load. This was an attempt. Somebody wanted the hose to come out the left side instead of the right side. Did that for them. They were using the case kicker on it. That's it. Early version of my primer catcher. There you go. There's a lot of videos in there and photos. Might be interesting to scan through those at your leisure to see what all I make. I think I'll post this on YouTube. I haven't posted something on there for quite a while. Anyway, Loadertools, if you stuck with me for this long, appreciate it. Loadertools is my Facebook group. Loadertools.com, reloadertools.com take you to my store, and welcome to ask me to do custom things if it's possible. I do those sometimes, just like this tray. The person that had the original tray, and it got damaged, got some solvent inside there, and it got cracked, and I was able to make them matte pretty quick. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the web.